So today we're going to be having a build video for VIESSA that not only is going to be showing you a build that's going to help you destroy hard bosses in under 30 seconds, but also we're going to be showing you a build that's going to help you farm big areas if you love mobbing, if you're just trying to farm materials. As you guys see right here, this is Pyromaniac. He was done in about 24 seconds. Yes, and we just make a couple adjustments and now look what we have. We have ourselves a mobbing build, and this build is great for clearing big areas all by yourself. If you have teammates, it's just going to improve it. But the main focus with this build is to clear massive amount of enemies all at once, and that's what's so good about it. And you could do that. What I love about VIESSA is she's fast. Like, she's not as fast as Bunny, but she's fast when she uses Frost Roads. And what this build allows us to use is use Frost Roads, unlike the previous build you saw that we used for bossings. So we do make some changes on each one of these builds, but I think you guys are going to enjoy it. So what I'll do is, since we do have 2 builds and 1 Thunder Cage build, I will have timestamps for all 3 of them, so you guys can look out for those. So if you guys are looking for the solo bossing, or if you guys are looking for the farming, you guys can just click on that build and then kind of like build around that. Also, when I'm breaking down each build, you also notice that I'll tell you where you guys can make some module changes if you guys want to feel a little bit more tanky, if you guys want to have a little bit more survivability. But again, that is going to be all up to you, because some players like having more tanky builds, some players having more glass cannon builds. It's really up to your play style, so you just have to figure that out when you're playing this. At the end of the day, you do not have to have a build that drops bosses in under 30 seconds. But is it worth it? Yes. So now that you guys were able to see this build perform in bosses, and then obviously the other version perform in mobbing, this is gonna be the guide that you guys wanna come back to. So that way you guys can find different ways to tweak your builds to make them better. And I've been playing VIESSA since day 1. I was out of town last week, but we are back, and I made some tweaks to her to make her even stronger. As you guys can see, she performs really well against solo bosses, and then she could still do what she needs to do when farming. We'll go to the Descendant module, and you'll notice at the very top I have Cold and Hypo, and that's because of the Transcendent modules. For bosses, I personally like Cold Bloodiness, and I'll tell you why. It's because it increases my skill power, but it also decreases my skill cost and skill cooldown. Now, Frost Rolls is not created when moving, so you do lose that. I personally like Frost Rolls for mobbing, but that's where I can use Cold Bloodiness for bosses, because you don't really have to worry about the mobbing, just trying to focus on that boss itself, put out max damage. Now, our first module that's not a Transcendent module is Spear and Shield. Now, if you guys want to get rid of a little bit of the skill power because you feel like you're not tanky enough, you can get rid of this one and then just put defense only. Now, we have increased HP. Highly recommend adding this. It's gonna increase your max HP. We have skill extension that's going to help with skill duration, so you guys know that's gonna allow the skill to last longer. Nimble Fingers is gonna bring down that cooldown time. Front Lines is gonna add that critical hit damage and skill critical hit rate, which is crucial and very key to destroying bosses, especially if you're using a character that primary damage is from their skills. Now we have MP conversion on here. This is also going to reduce our skill cooldown, but it does give us a max MP of negative 15%, so there is a negative to this. Now we have emergency measures that's going to give us skill critical hit rate, skill critical hit damage. We also have skill insight here, so that's going to give us that skill critical hit rate. We have focus on chill, because we want to keep that skill cooldown very low, so we have skill power here and skill cooldown. We have skill concentration that's going to give us skill critical damage, and then I have shock punch on here that's going to allow us to add 15 more slots on the build. Now, I wasn't going to assign a module socket type to this one, but I did because there's a lot of really good ones that we can put in here and that will fit the build. So if I don't want to have MP conversion, I can always swap it out for a few of these, and it allows me to actually fit this in here and max it out. So ideally, that's what I really wanted to do with this build right here. And the way this all works with Cold Bloodiness, if you notice right now, my Blizzard's gonna be at 19 seconds cooldown, but when I proc Cold Bloodiness, it's gonna go drop down to 7 seconds. You're gonna actually see this one go from 2.2 seconds to 0.3 seconds, and then you're also gonna see this one drop down too. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna activate Cold Bloodiness, which lasts 27 seconds, so I can show you updated cooldown time on this, right? So we're gonna proc it real quick for you. I'll go back to it, and you'll see, look, my Blizzard is at 7.1 second cooldown. My Cold Snap is at 2.4 seconds. And look, 0.8 seconds, sorry, not 0.3, 0.8 seconds. So that's what's pretty good about running this. And if you guys are looking for something to destroy bosses, I feel like Cold Bladedness is kind of the one that you guys really want to run with because of how you can spam the Blizzard to take out the boss when you need to. But yeah, that is how I am running this build. I'm going to be using the same weapon on both, but I do use a different reactor. So let me show you that first before we go into the other builds. So reactors make a big difference in how you make builds. So right now I have a frozen mixture reactor. I did max it out twice. So you can see the two little diamonds right here. So you can enhance your reactors. Now we have Thunder Cage mounting because I do use the Thunder Cage with this build, Chill skill power, and Fusion skill power. Now, not only that, what you want to do is look at down at the bottom. You can see I have a skill critical hit rate right here of 31%, which is great for my skills, right, to help it up. And then we have additional skill attack when attacking Colossal. So this is going to be a huge multiplier for my skills doing damage to them. So if you can find something like this, this works great. Now, I do use a different one when I'm using them for mobbing, and I'll show you that in a second. We also have external components here. So for our external components, we're using the Slayer set. And the reason I decided to use this set for bossing is because it gives us general round capacity of 8%, rounds per magazine 9%, skill cost 15%, skill power 26%. We're gonna get that extra damage there. So that is the main reason. Yes, the skill cost is gonna cost me more, but the skill power pushes it up. And I personally think this is a great way for you guys to run this set if you guys want to put out max damage. Now, I will show you another set that I use when I mob, and it's totally different, and it's using a two-piece, which I definitely do like. With the Slayer set, you're going to want to try to get defense and max HP because those both do run on the auxiliary power. So try to get the defense and try to get the max HP. Now, for the sensor, you're going to go with the max shield, and then MP recovery is not bad in combat, and then it usually comes with a resistance. I have chill resistance, so I'd recommend trying to get one of those. The memory, which is going to go as max shield, and you definitely want to try to get defense here because you are going to be a lot lower than you should be. And then if you go right here, you'll see max HP and max shield. It's kind of what you want to go with. I'll show you the Thunder Cage at the end because that is the same build that I'm running for all of them. But let's get back to the other builds. So you guys saw some mobbing footage. Well, I use hypothermia for this one. And why does this one work so good? When using its skill, inflicts Ice Needle instead of Ice Shackle. Remember, Ice Shackle slows down the enemy, and when Ice Needle reaches a certain number of stacks, passive skills are triggered. What Ice Needle does, it does continuous damage to the target, so damage increases as it stacks. And when you're dropping Frost Road, guess what happens? Ice Needle starts to hit the enemies, and that's why it's so good. Highly recommend using this one if you plan on mobbing. Now we have Spear and Shield, so this is gonna give us defense and skill power, just like we did in the last build. We have increased HP, same exact thing we had in the last build, gives us that max HP. We have skill expansion for the skill effective range, so that's the effective range of my skills. Really recommend this one. Time distribution, because that's gonna give us skill cooldown and give us some more max HP. Highly recommend stacking a little bit more HP in your mobbing ones, so that way you can survive. Emergency measures for skill critical hit rate and skill critical damage. We have Nimble Fingers in here for skill cooldown. You can swap this out for something else if you want to. We have skill insight. This is going to give us that skill critical hit rate. We have front lines, skill critical hit damage, and skill critical hit rate right there. We have focus on chill. It's going to help us get our skills back, chill skill power, and skill cooldown. Skill concentration for skill critical hit damage, and then shock punch, obviously. Now, if you look at this, you'll see that my cooldown on this is 3.8 seconds, so it's not too bad with the frost shards. My frost road is cooldown is 13 seconds, but it lasts 19 seconds, so I can have this up at all times. We have cold snap that is 10 seconds cooldown, and then blizzard is a 32-second cooldown. So not bad at all, but with the extra damage you're getting from hypothermia, this is so good for putting out damage when you're using your frost roads and when you're trying to clear large areas. I personally love this build. I do mix and match this. If you feel that you don't need as much skill power, then you can actually just put defense in here. Let me show you real quick. There's something you can do. You can go right here to defense. You can just take this one out because remember, regular defense is going to give you 160%. This one gives you do 89%. So definitely going to be a big difference there. Frozen Mixture Reactor. What this is going to do is it gives us chill skill power and fusion skill power. Plus, it's going to give us singular skill power because that is what the Blizzard turns into. And then fusion is the other skills on here. Now, this allows my Blizzard, my Frost Shards, my Frost Roads, everything to hit pretty hard. And that's why I like this one versus the one I use for the bosses. Now, I am running a 2-piece set. It's a 2-piece. And one of the 2 pieces is going to give me skill duration. And the other one's going to give me chill skill power of 6%. This set I used to use to solo bosses, but I felt the other set just worked better to give you that little bit of extra damage. Now for the auxiliary power, you're gonna want defense, and then you're gonna want max HP. Ideally, this is kind of what you guys want to go for when you're looking for these. For the sensor, we go with max HP. It has chill resistance. For the memory, we have max HP, electric resistance here too. Again, you can look around and see if you can find other ones that may do a little bit better. Just have to kind of like look out there for you. And then for the final one, we have polar chill skill power. So we have max shield, max HP. Again, some of these mod slots, I wish I had another one on here. You'll notice they have equipment drop rate increase modifier. So if you can find some that help you out, get better equipment, get better modules, ideally you can definitely do that. So that's just something for you. The main thing I'm using this set for though, what we want to pay attention to is the chill skill power of 6.2%, and then obviously the skill duration of 5.7%. Now that you know how both builds are set up, let me show you my Thunder Cage. I did make a little bit of adjustments, but I'll show you something that I do for when I'm farming or when I'm with bosses. So we do have better concentration on here. That's going to give us critical hit damage. We have rifle and reinforcement for that base firearm attack. We have action and reaction that's going to give us that base fire and attack. But you remember the recoil does goes up by 20%. We have the fire rate that's going to give us a 25% fire rate. Concentration support ammo, rounds per magazine plus 30%. And then firearm critical hit damage 6%. And then we have better insight that's going to give us that critical hit rate percentage up. Weak point sight, weak point damage 35%. If you guys are not running bosses, highly recommend having weak point. Now, if you are just mobbing, you do not need weak point sight and you do not need weak point insight. Now, this is great for bosses because their weak points are huge. On regular NPCs, honestly, you don't even really need to worry about it. You probably don't even need these two, but this is kind of what I run all the time. I don't really switch it, but you don't need either one of these. Concentration priority, firearm critical damage plus 120%, reload time modifier negative 30%. Now we have chill enhancement on here. This is the one that I do switch all the time. So if I'm fighting a boss that's weak against chill, I'll put the chill enhancement. If they're weak against toxic, I'll put toxic enhancement. If they're weak against fire, same thing. What I recommend is just maxing them out to where you can. Right now I'm 79. I believe this is gonna go up a little bit, so I might be able to squeeze this up a little bit more, but it really just depends. But again, this is kind of how I run my Thunder Cage. Weak point is very powerful, especially against bosses. Now again, open world, you probably don't have to worry about that. But that's pretty much it right here, guys. If you guys have any questions on this build, you guys saw pretty much a solid build. I am loving VIESSA, and she is my main. She's my #1 main, and she'll probably be my #1 main as I go through, and I'll start working on other mains now that I got her exactly where I want her. So if you guys have any recommendations, let me know. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hey, NothingButSkillz out.